What's up, guys? Welcome back to Hear Me Out. Today we're doing something a little different again. We're going to be going over each other's top five quarterbacks of all time in a back-to-back showdown. And we'll start with Josh on it.
All right, so top five quarterbacks. We're starting with five. I'm going to go ahead and preface. I think it's going to be probably the same for Jesse. There's definitely a recency bias here because I'm
Absolutely.
24 years old. You know, I don't necessarily care a lot about what the guys in 1939 were doing on the football field. Maybe they were great. It just doesn't really matter to me. There's not really going to be any of those on my list. So with that,
And I just want to interject real quick. At the same time, the quarterback position today is not the quarterback position back then.
Right.
George Blanda, first ballot Hall of Famer, threw 46 interceptions in a season. Like, those guys, they were good for their time, but when we're talking about the greatest quarterbacks of all time, I understand what they did for the game.
Yeah.
It was just not the same position. It wouldn't be fair to the modern guys to put a lot of those guys in there. Not to say they weren't great, but
Right.
that's just the fact of the matter.
absolutely. So that's just where we're at with that. So my number five is, and it almost hurts a little bit to put him as low as I'm putting him, but my number five is Drew Brees. So
Oh my God.
a great quarterback all time. We know that. Statistically, a fiend. He's done nothing but produce his entire time in the league. Okay? We know that. I am not great at remembering stats, so I have to write some stuff down. He's thrown for 5,000 yards in a single season 5 times. No other quarterback's ever done that more than once. He's thrown over
Disrespectful.
70% completion percentage in a season 4 times. No other quarterback's ever done that more than once. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks to ever play. His pocket presence is almost unparalleled of all time. He doesn't have the physical measurables to really compete with some of the other quarterbacks, but his intangibles have made him elite his entire career. The reason I slid him down to number 5 was his first 5 seasons in the league, other than 2004 with the Chargers, were not good. They just weren't. He just didn't play good football. So of his career, 5 of the years were bad. 4 of the years were bad. One of them was pretty good. And his very unfortunate lack of postseason success, which isn't always his fault, means that a lot of times he cranks out these crazy production seasons for no reason and they lose in the first or second round. And it feels like it's production for nothing. Definitely no shots at Drew Brees, though. He's amazing, but those two things are what slid him down to 5 for me.
Most disrespectful thing I've ever heard in my life. He'll be in my list later in the correct spot.
Sorry, Drew.
For number 5, I'm going to go with something that Josh is going to consider disrespectful. I'm going to put Aaron Rodgers down at number 5. For a lot of the same reasons, he has Drew Brees at number 5. Aaron Rodgers is extremely talented, one of the best at throwing on the run, super strong arm, can hit a dime from 65 yards. We know who Aaron Rodgers is. We also know that he's had some better teams than Drew Brees has had, but the same amount of success, only 1 Super Bowl. I think Drew Brees should have had 2 Super Bowls.
Yep.
He should have been in the Super Bowl the year the Rams were there. He should have won that Super Bowl. Neither here nor there. Aaron Rodgers hasn't had that much success either. He does have all the stats. He was also a backup for his first few years in the league. He had all that time to develop. There's a few reasons that go into it. I know he's one of the most talented quarterbacks there is, but we're talking about greatest. Aaron Rodgers is at number 5 for me.
Yeah, that's solid. So, my number 4, I know I said that there's a huge recency bias and you're not going to see old players. This is my one exception. Not that he's that old. But to me, my number 4 player is actually Johnny Unitas. And here's why. Because we talked about, the quarterbacks who played a long time ago and that they were basically just running backs who were allowed to throw the ball forward. Johnny Unitas was one of the first ones in the NFL where he just wasn't a running back who was allowed to throw the ball. He was a quarterback. He threw the ball consistently downfield well. He really revolutionized the game of football. He was the first guy to come along and show what the quarterback position would be forever. And more importantly than that, he is single-handedly responsible for creating the 2-minute offense. Because what teams did before him is they'd keep running their offense no matter what the clock looked like. And they could be down a touchdown with 2 minutes left, and they still pound it up the middle and just lose the football game. And be like, oh, sorry, I guess we lost. He was the first one to come up with a sort of routine of plays that they could run quickly, throwing the ball, getting out of bounds, stopping the clock, so that they could score and win the game. He literally started that, and that is what defines the NFL today. He was the first big quarterback to really show what the NFL would be in the future. Just to throw some stats out, he had 4 seasons where he led the league in touchdowns consecutively. That's crazy. He set the record for 47 straight games with a passing touchdown, which my number 5 quarterback, Drew Brees, ended up breaking. The difference is
Shattering, if I remember correctly, right?
he did end up beating it by a good clip, yes, but
Yeah.
it took Drew Brees that long to beat
Right,
it.
yeah.
You know, and that was with Johnny Unitas throwing the ball just under 29 times a game, and Drew Brees was throwing the football over 40 times a game to beat the record. Johnny Unitas threw a touchdown on 7.6% of his passes. That's insane. I know he's old, but he's my number 4.
I agree with you putting Johnny Unitas in there. I didn't, but I see, in my opinion, he was part of the transition, but it's still a different position. He was only throwing the ball a lot. DBs were not good at coverage, so he had a lot of wide open guys. I get it. I respect it. My number 4 is going to be Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning is another guy who he won 2 Super Bowls. The second Super Bowl was a Lifetime Achievement Award. Let's be clear about that. He did not contribute to that Super Bowl. He threw like 7 touchdowns and 19 interceptions that year. He was terrible. One of the worst quarterbacks in the league. It was a Lifetime Achievement Award. So he has 1 Super Bowl where he actually contributed to the Super Bowl. And he also wasn't that good at not turning the ball over. He had a few seasons. I know he had one where he was like 55-15. But he had a few seasons where he threw over 20 early in his career. He was not a gunslinger, but he was kind of a transition between a cerebral and a gunslinger. What puts him at number 4 is he's probably the greatest pre-snap quarterback of all time. Probably the greatest at reading the defenses, probably the greatest at audibling, probably the greatest at, figuring out where he's going to go with the ball before he even snaps the ball. At the same time, he did make a lot of risky throws. In the playoffs, he did not show up a lot. I think he only made the AFC Championship game a handful of times. He only won it, obviously, 3 times, and he lost one of those Super Bowls. Or, I'm sorry, he lost, one of those Super Bowls, right? Or 2 of those Super Bowls, sorry. The problem with putting him at number 4 is I get that he has all the accolades. He is a Super Bowl champion. I just feel that my top 3 guys, overall, all things considered, are a little bit better than Peyton Manning, but number 4 is fair for me.
Yeah, and not like number 4 of all time's a shot or anything,
right.
So that's fine. So my number 3 is actually Peyton Manning. So not to cover it too much since you just covered him. I mean, you nailed it. Pre-snap, he's the best quarterback to ever play. He did not throw the prettiest football, but he always got it to where it needed to go. It was always out of his hand quick. And really, when you had Peyton Manning on your team, you had 2 offensive coordinators on your team. So hard for defenses to compete with that. I think the only knock you can really give Peyton Manning is his lack of ability to come up clutch in the postseason and the lack of postseason success. His second Super Bowl with the Broncos does not count as a Peyton Manning Super Bowl. I mean, I know they shipped you the ring, Peyton, but I mean, let's be honest here.
I mean,
so for
I
him
could
to
have won
play,
that Super Bowl.
yeah, Johnny Unitas could have won that Super Bowl if you transposed him today. So
if you put him in there at like age 17.
Exactly. So I think had he had more success like that, I think he would be in the debate for number 1. But that's the only thing, in my opinion, that pulls him down to number 3, because in every other facet, he's one of the greatest to ever play.
So for my number 3 is Brett Favre. And I'm just kidding. Josh and I don't like Brett Favre. That's an
Oh,
inside.
I was about to turn my camera off, Jesse.
Most overrated quarterback of all time. Different discussion. My actual number 3 is Josh's number 5. It's Drew Brees. Personally, I think, all things considered, Drew Brees is the most talented quarterback to ever play. He is mobile. He is elusive. And my God, he could hit a dime from 100 yards. This guy is the most accurate quarterback to ever play in the NFL. And it's not like he's throwing checkdowns. He is throwing dimes downfield consistently. Insane. What put him at number 3, so what I gave him the edge over Rodgers and Peyton is, Peyton had some great teams. Marvin Harris, Reggie Wayne. He went to the Broncos, obviously had those great teams. Aaron Rodgers had some great receivers, some great talents. He had the air raid offense with, not really an air raid, but aired out offense with Mike McCarthy. It's, what put Drew Brees ahead for me was the fact his team sucked. Like, just plain and simple, his team sucked for most of his career. They got better towards the end. He won that 2009 Super Bowl with a really great team. After that, they went through some years with, middling teams. Before that, never had great teams. He was always one of the best quarterbacks in the league. It didn't matter if you gave him grocery store baggers. It didn't matter who you gave him on the field. He was going to go out, throw 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's just who he was. Incredible. He didn't make a lot of mistakes. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I know he doesn't have the eye-popping touchdown interception ratios that Aaron Rodgers does. He also doesn't throw the ball away as much as Aaron Rodgers does. So there's stuff that goes with that. I think all in all, for my money, the most talented quarterback of all time, give me Drew Brees, number 3.
He was great, no doubt, for sure. So my number 2 for me is Joe Montana. He is the next guy on the list. You know, Johnny Unitas was kind of the first landmark that showed where quarterbacks were going in the NFL. And then Joe Montana was number 2. You know, he came in with Bill Walsh's West Coast spread offense, was the first quarterback in the modern, we'll call it, era of football to throw the ball in the way he did. Very accurate guy, mobile in the pocket, great awareness, didn't make a lot of mistakes. He wasn't one of those guys who played for a great team and looked better than he was and kind of had a lot of success for no reason. I mean, he genuinely, unbelievably talented football player. Incredible postseason success. I mean, only outdone by our eventual list ender. But other than that, no one's ever had the postseason success that he has. Great in the regular season, super efficient with the ball, super accurate, and he was being Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. He was being those guys before they existed, and he really paved the way for them to be who they are. And it's not just in the way Johnny Unitas paved the way and his impact is what put him on my list. He was talented enough to make the list too. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks to ever play, and that's why he's my number 2.
So my number 2, if the world was fair, this number 2 spot should go to Dan Marino. It should.
Right. It should.
But for reasons that we all know, it's going to Joe Montana. And it's just, that's just how it is. Joe Montana, you covered it all. He was the greatest before the modern era of quarterbacks. He was the modern era of quarterbacks before the modern era of quarterbacks. He was the guy, the first guy, the West Coast offense where he doesn't have the arm talent of some guys today, but he didn't need it. He was revolutionary. He was revolutionary in a way that, like you said, Johnny Unitas was, but he did it better. I get he had Jerry Rice his whole career. Not his whole career, but he did win a Super Bowl before Jerry Rice. But I get it. He had Jerry Rice. That didn't help him. Like I said, he won with Dwight Clark as his best receiver a Super Bowl. It's everything you covered. He's good with the football, the West Coast offense. He could read defenses. He was the guy before the guys. I mean, there's just not enough you could say about Joe Montana. He was the undisputed GOAT before our number 1, which is Brett Favre. No, I'm kidding. Our number 1, both of us, is Tom Brady. I mean, come on, guys.
He's the undisputed greatest of all time, in my opinion. I think arguing against that is arguing for argument's sake. I know that there's been a long-standing belief from casual NFL fans that Brady's a system quarterback who is good because of Belichick. I think that's out the window as the Buccaneers are, in the playoffs again, and the
Patriots had the 32nd ranked quarterback play in the league.
Yeah, and former Super Bowl contending Cam Newton led them to the worst quarterback play in the NFL with Belichick still at the helm. Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. I mean, you're looking at a guy who you're like, wow, that was a garbage season. Get it together when he doesn't make the AFC Championship. Most guys spend their careers getting to the AFC Championship, and Tom Brady ended the season thinking, wow, that sucked when he didn't make the AFC Championship. I mean, he's made it to a second hand for his rings. I don't know what more you can say. Great accuracy, pocket presence. He knows what defense you're running before you know what defense you're running. You can blitz him with 10. You can blitz him with none. He's still going to go to the right place with the football. He's still playing at an elite level at 43. He's not what he was at 33, but he's still playing elite football. I mean, there's no one better than Tom Brady.
So I just want to start with, obviously it's Tom Brady, but I just want to start with saying at age 43, Pro Football Focus rated him as the second best quarterback in the league in this past season. Age 43. I don't care what weapons he has. No quarterback before Tom Brady had ever thrown more than four touchdowns in an age 43 season. He was the second rated quarterback in the league, according to Pro Football Focus, behind Aaron Rodgers, who had an insane year. And he's been doing it for so long. there's not enough you could say about Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Whatever, he was a system quarterback. He had some of the worst teams around him. He won his MVP in 2017, which was the highest rated season according to Pro Football Focus since they started tracking. He had like a 99.4 rating from Pro Football Focus. His best receiver was Brandon Cooks, is not a top 6 receiver in the league. He's not. He's not the top guy. That was his best receiver. Then he had Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, and I know he had Gronk, who's probably the GOAT tight end, but no real running game. Had the greatest season Pro Football Focus has ever measured. It's just, and it's nothing new. It's nothing new. He had the best age 43 season ever, the best age 42 season ever, the best age 41 season ever. He won an MVP at 41. He's doing it the best for the longest. I said Peyton Manning was the best pre-snap quarterback of all time. Tom Brady's the best live play quarterback of all time. He knows the defense. He knows where you're going. He knows what you're running. He knows what you're going to do. He knows how to look you off. He knows how to shoulder. He knows. It's just, he's at a level we've never seen. He's at a level I don't think we'll see again. Patrick Mahomes is talented. I get it. I don't think we'll ever see it again for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are both good lists. I think we have a lot of similarities, between the two. And then my personal list, my number 5 would be Aaron Rodgers. I have him at 5. My number 4, I actually have Otto Graham on there. I didn't know how good this dude was until I looked up his stats. Dude was unreal. He was one of the first legitimate dual threat quarterbacks ever, and not in the sense of running back that can kind of throw the ball. He averaged a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio through his career. That is unheard of for his time. Man put up crazy numbers. I have Joe Montana at number 3. Obviously revolutionary. Made the West Coast offense what it is today. Peyton Manning's my number 2. I think Peyton Manning is the second greatest quarterback of all time. He changed how quarterbacks operate pre-snap. And then number 1. I actually have 2 number 1s. I think they deserve equal competition. The first is obviously Tom Brady. But I think discounting Taylor Heineke and not putting him up right there in contention with the best quarterback of all time is a complete disservice and a shot to the game of football. So those two would compete for my number 1.
Can I go back and change my number 1? I don't know how I didn't think of that.
Yeah, push everybody back one and put number 1 as Taylor Heineke for me.
I would say no normally, but this is such an important thing. I will let you guys go ahead and retract what you said earlier and throw Taylor Heineke where he deserves.
Sorry, Aaron Rodgers, you just fell out of the top 5.
Sorry, gotcha.
That being said, thanks for watching. Let us know what your top 5s are in the comments below. If you have someone that you think is unbelievable that we left out, let us know. Tell us we're idiots. We love it. We will see you next time.
See ya.